Attention. Before the film even starts, we get a shot of the Columbia logo with a single haunting string behind it. And as that Columbia woman's torch begins to sparkle, that note becomes a gang of notes. And the tension slowly increases. It slowly fades into the beginning shot of the film, which is a tracking shot of a fence. It's like in a woods of some sort. We can't see anybody. We hear footsteps rustling in the leaves. On the outside looking in, the swimmer does look like any common 1960s drama film, but as it starts to develop and we see more and we learn that it's anything but that. Very shortly after this mysterious scene, we eventually see our protagonist, Ned Merrill, walking through the woods just in his swimming costume, and then he arrives at the house of his friends Don and Helen, and he jumps into the pool, and then the music crescendos. He gets out the pool after being greeted with a drink by Don, says hi to his friends, and they're so surprised to see him because they haven't seen him in almost a year, they say. The main plot of this film on the surface is that while at Don and Helen's, they tell him that one of their neighbours has recently put in a new swimming pool.
Sure, they have a big pool.
And then he sort of clicks to him, he looks at the sun and he says, oh, I'm gonna swim home. Like, if you think about it, if I take the route from this house to that house to that house to that house, I can swim all the way home. And they seem very distressed when he says that. This grown man is like acting like a child, like why does he want to swim home? Like, we'll drop you off home, like you don't have to do this. But like, he's very content, and as the film progresses, whatever challenges are presented to him, Ned is determined one way or another to swim all the way back to his house. There is a sense of disconnect between Ned and every single other character in this film. Like, he lives in this surreal reality world and like he's oblivious to actual reality around him. Like, so many different characters try to break him out of it, try to bring him back to the real world. Yeah, no matter what anyone says to him, he's in this childlike state of, I'm swimming home, everything's fine, the kids are fine, the wife is fine, he's living a happy, beautiful life. He wants other people to swim with him, and yeah, they just can't break him out of that. Quite early on in the film, we learn about Ned's influence in this like suburbia world. Practically everyone he meets is happy to see him, ask him where he's been, offer him things. He is of high social standing in this world. Like, he is the life of the party, it seems like. Everyone's missed Ned, Ned's back, other than one woman who is the mother of one of his friends who passed away in the hospital, who now looks after their house, and she says,
don't you ever come here again.
It's alluded to that he didn't visit him enough and he didn't see him, and his friend was dying in the hospital, and basically that throws him into a bit of turmoil quite early on in the film, and he's just running through the woods, just distressed, and it's sort of like reality is starting to hit him. Then he comes across a horse by a fence, and that sort of like brings him back to his surreal reality, and he races the horse, and then that sort of like numbs him from the thought of his friends died and he didn't know. That sort of like brings him back into this world of weirdness. The more I view it, it's like I try to pinpoint where I can see, but there's this overarching dark secret that's present throughout the whole film. Like, everyone around Ned is worried about him because we're following Ned's point of view throughout the film. It's not ever explicitly discussed, like it's not explicitly shown, but we can see this sense of discomfort. It's sort of like a nightmare. It's really discomforting. We see the first true glimpse of his character when he comes across a character called Julie Ann Hooper, who used to be the babysitter for his kids, and she's a grown woman now. She was like a child when she used to babysit the kids, and he's like so insistent on, oh, you should come and babysit again and all this, like we need a babysitter, we've been looking for a babysitter. And she's like, your kids will like go crazy, like why would they need a babysitter, which hints to us that maybe they are older than Ned has been letting on since the beginning. Like, we can't trust it. He's not a reliable narrator, you know what I'm saying? It's just there's other people at the house where he meets her. Like, it's a girl called Muffy's house, and then she's like,
gee, I miss Ellen and Aggie. Where are they? But when did they... Well, why didn't they call me?
And she's like a grown adult, I'd say she's in her 20s or something. He somehow convinces Julianne Hooper to come on his crazy journey of swimming home, and she follows him. There's a scene where it's like a montage scene. They're in like a horse stable, not stable, but you know, like a horse, like where there's the fences and the horses jump over it and stuff, and they like jump over it and they're laughing and joking, and he's like a big kid, I guess is the best way to describe it. And they go to a few houses and he's introducing her to everybody. It ends up with them in the field, and it's a really disturbing, uncomfortable scene where he pressures her to tell him about, because she starts saying, oh, when I was younger I used to have a crush on you, and then he tries to get to go into more detail, and then he's like, oh, why didn't you tell me? And she's like, I was just a kid. Why would I tell this grown man that I had a crush on him? Which is really, really weird and like uncomfortable. And then she tells him about she's experienced 2 cases of harassment at work. Once when she went into a lift and the guy kissed her like unwarranted, and I think she got flashed by someone at some other point. And then he gets really obsessive. He's like, I'm gonna take you to and from work. You're gonna meet me for lunch. And she's like, I've got a boyfriend, he won't be happy with that. And he's like, I don't care, we're gonna do this and do that. And he starts to get a bit touchy-feely, and that's like, it's really, really disgusting. Like, he's forcing his way on this like young lady. It's really, really weird. And then she ends up running away, and then that's the end of their journey. His relationship with women throughout the film is really quite disturbing, to be honest, because like, he's this massive flirt, and he's like, Ned Merrill always gets his way, is that sort of thing that's hinted at. So like, in the beginning when he first sees Helen, he kneels before her, grabs her foot, and he he's about to kiss it, and then he like smiles. It's not right either way, but it's just like, you're being very like weird and uncomfortable to this woman whose like husband's right there. That's like, it's really weird. And then a few moments later we see the Fosbergs, who are at Don and Helen's house. Stu Fosberg's wife comes to greet Ned Merrill, and he's very hands-on again, and it's just like very intimate, and it's just really uncomfortable. Like, the men don't say anything, but it's just really an uncomfortable sort of situation. Like, there's like some sexual tension between these characters. And then we see him meet Betty, where she greets her by slapping her on the bum, which is like, again, inappropriate. It's just, he's got this sort of like, if Ned wants it, he'll get it sort of thing. And then we learn later on that he actually had an affair with a lady called Shirley Abbott, which we're led to believe that his wife found out, and it dissolved the marriage at some point. And yeah, reasons why I like The Swimmer. I think The Swimmer is an amazing film. It's my favourite film of all time, because every time I watch it I learn something new. I find these little clues and things like, oh, that's what he really meant, that's what she really meant. And I'm trying to piece together what is the reality of the situation. We know that Ned cheated on Lucinda with Shirley Abbott. We know that something happened with his kids, some sort of accident, I think it's led to believe it was a car accident or something. People got killed, but they got let off because he's a rich family and he's got a lot of social standing. And it's just like, every time I watch it I'm learning something new, and it's just like, it's watching this man who will never learn about anything. He's like, I think the metaphor of swimming is so important. He's swimming just to stay afloat. If he stops at any moment he'll drown. I think subconsciously at some point, at some sort of level, he knows that the reality of the situation, but he swims to stay afloat. The second he can't swim, the second he's unable to swim, he starts to drown in the reality of everything. Yeah, I love this film. It makes me, like, on my worst days, my best days, I love watching it. It's just like, it grounds me. It makes me feel like, just keep being yourself. You never have to put on this front, like, to please others. If you do, you'll end up like Ned Merrill. So yeah, just be a good person and honest to yourself. That's what I would say. It's just like, yeah. And I love this film. See you guys next time.